I still remember the moment I stumbled on this truth, the moment I realized everything I'd been taught about Mary Magdalene was wrong. And not just missing a detail, this was a full-on spiritual heist. She had been called a sinner, a prostitute, erased from the story the church told. But what if I told you that Mary Magdalene was actually one of the most enlightened disciples Jesus ever had? What if her wisdom was so powerful, so radically intimate, that the early church had to bury it? Jesus walked through hardships beyond our imagining, but alongside him was someone who saw deeper, who heard his heart in ways no one else could. That's Mary. Her journey was intertwined with his in ways that didn't just challenge tradition, they shattered it. If you're ready to explore the truth they didn't want you to know, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. I came across the Gospel of Mary. Everything changed. Here was a text where Jesus doesn't call Mary a sinner. He calls her beloved, calls her a vessel of divine wisdom. The disciples were stunned. Peter even said, "Did he really speak with a woman privately?" Imagine that. Shock that Jesus would share secrets with her that he didn't with others. And that moment, that betrayal of patriarchal control, rippled outward so fiercely that her voice was silenced for centuries. Let's walk this path together. Mary Magdalene wasn't just a follower. She was the apostle of apostles, the one Jesus trusted to carry his deepest teachings. And here's the thing. Those teachings weren't about obedience or guilt. They were about awakening. She tells us softly but powerfully, there is no sin, only forgetting who you are. That flips everything upside down. Nothing about shame or inherited guilt, instead, illumination, gnosis, direct knowing. If you ever felt something missing in your faith, a quiet whisper saying you were made for more than ritual, then pause, take a breath, and let yourself feel into that. That is exactly the spark Mary's gospel was meant to ignite. Don't click away. Join this awakening. We dive deeper in the next part. But first, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. I am remembering. You're not alone in this rediscovery. When I first read Mary Magdalene's gospel, really read it, not with the eyes of suspicion, but with the soul of someone who was searching. It didn't feel like blasphemy. It felt like coming home. It didn't tear down Christ. It unveiled him. Not as a distant savior trapped in stained glass, but as the divine mirror, held up by the one who understood him more intimately than any other. Mary didn't just follow Jesus. She walked beside him, spirit to spirit. While others clung to his miracles, she absorbed his frequency. Theirs wasn't a romance of flesh. It was a communion of wisdom. Jesus saw her, not as the world saw her, but as she truly was, awakened. He didn't ask her to kneel, he asked her to rise, and rise she did. But here's the moment that broke my heart, and maybe it'll stir something in you too. After Jesus had risen, after he had appeared to Mary first, yes, first, she ran to tell the others. Not just because she was excited, no, because she had been chosen to carry the message. And how did they respond? Peter's voice cut through like a knife. Did he really speak with a woman without our knowledge? This wasn't about faith. This was about power, about ego, about men refusing to let a woman hold the keys to heaven. And so they rewrote her. They couldn't erase her entirely, but they recast her, from master to penitent, from oracle to prostitute. A smear campaign so complete that even today, millions still see her through that lie. The Vatican itself admitted the mistake 1,400 years later, but the damage had been done. And the gospel she left behind, buried, not metaphorically, literally, buried in the desert sands of Egypt, hidden from view, only to be unearthed in Nag Hammadi in 1945. And when scholars read it, they trembled, because it wasn't just another lost gospel, it was dangerous. Not to faith, but to control. Her words, listen closely, they don't condemn, they don't demand. They invite. The kingdom is within you. She speaks of archons, spiritual forces of ignorance, desire, fear, but she doesn't say to fight them with violence or submission. She says to know yourself, to remember, because when the soul remembers its divine origin, those false powers crumble. Her gospel isn't about external salvation. It's about awakening. You're not dirty. You're not broken. You're not a sinner in need of shame. You're a soul that's forgotten its radiance. And she came to remind you. Pause for a second, close your eyes, breathe. Have you ever felt that there's more inside you than what you've been taught? that your prayers sometimes feel like echoes, but something deeper is knocking at your ribs, that perhaps the divine is closer than you thought. Not above, not beyond, but within. That's the voice Mary carried. And that voice wasn't extinguished. It's been pulsing like a heartbeat beneath the silence, waiting for this moment. For you. For us. I need you to do something right now. Not for me, but for the collective. Hit like on this video, not to boost numbers, but to raise the signal. Subscribe, because we are going deeper. This is the beginning of remembering, and the next part may shake you even more. But for now, I'll leave you with this. Do not cling to the form, Jesus said. You must find me within yourself. Mary did. And now, so can you. I remember the first time I said it out loud. The Gospel of Mary, not the Gospel of Peter, not Matthew, not John, Mary. It felt like a rebellion, like I was unearthing something sacred that had been hidden right under our feet all this time. And maybe that's what it was, a treasure buried in shame, finally rising through the cracks of a dying narrative. Because here's the truth. This isn't just about history. This is about now. You, me, all of us. Because what they buried with Mary wasn't just a scroll. It was you. It was the sacred feminine, the forgotten wisdom, the birthright of spiritual sovereignty. They buried it to keep you obedient. They twisted her image to keep you afraid. They stripped away her words so you'd look outside for salvation instead of within. But the veil is lifting, and when it does, oh, the light it reveals. Mary spoke of gnosis, not belief, not dogma, but direct knowing. She said sin is not disobedience, but ignorance of who you truly are. That salvation isn't bought with blood, it's found in awakening. And I know, deep in my bones, you felt this too. That tug in the dark, that whisper in your soul, that sacred ache that says, there's more. You're not alone. I see the comments, I hear your voices. People from all corners of the world are remembering, dreaming, questioning, awakening. The divine feminine is rising, not as opposition to the masculine, but as balance, wholeness. The sacred marriage of strength and softness, wisdom and fire, divinity and form. This was Mary's mystery, the hieros gamos, the union of what we separated, not just between man and woman, but within each soul. That sacred inner alchemy that transforms trauma into wisdom, pain into compassion, ignorance into divine sight. The church feared her because she embodied it, not just in word, but in being. They could crucify Christ. But Mary couldn't be killed because her message wasn't in the body, it was in the spirit. And the spirit can't be silenced forever. So here we are, you and I, at the edge of something ancient and eternal. If you've watched this far, it's not coincidence, it's calling. This is your moment of remembrance, not of a new doctrine, but of an old truth returning in your blood, your breath, your being. The child of true humanity is within you, Mary said, not up there, not behind a pulpit, in. So I ask you now, what if she was right? What if the sacred spark you've been praying to is the same light that's been flickering quietly in your chest all along? What if your guilt was never yours to carry? What if you didn't need to be saved, but seen? What if God has always been whispering through the voice of a woman they tried to bury, and now that whisper is turning into thunder? Friend, the Gospel of Mary isn't just a text. It's a key to your liberation, a map to the kingdom inside you, a mirror to the divine you've been told to ignore. So I'll leave you with this. Please don't just scroll past this moment. Sit in it. Let it burn. And if something in your soul is stirring, if you feel that sacred memory cracking open, share this video. Not for me, for the ones still asleep, the ones still thinking they're too broken, too dirty, too unworthy. Let Mary's truth find them too. Subscribe. Stay with us. We're not done, because what the church buried, you are now unearthing. And I promise you, what's coming next will change everything. Subscribe now. Like, comment, I remember. Because you do. You always did. And now, so does the world.